Just got in from a run, and I want to tell you a story about the first triathlon I ever did. But first, I got a shower. The Navy triathlon was the first triathlon that I ever did. I did it about 3 years ago now, and I'm going to tell you the story about how I did it, why I did it, the brutal suffering that I had, and all in all my experience. So first of all, first things first, why did I sign up for the Navy triathlon? About 3 years ago, I was into CrossFit and stuff like that. I was pretty in shape gym-wise, certainly not really that endurance in shape, but I had this attitude where I thought I could pretty much do anything I wanted. And there was a guy at work that was, putting it bluntly, he was kind of a dick. And while I was at work, all the time he just always talked about how, oh, I should sign up for this race. I should add that he's in his like mid-40s, pushing older than that, and I'm in my mid-20s. He's just always talking about how he would beat the crap out of us in like a marathon or triathlon and all this stuff. And I say us because there was like a group of us that were all pretty in decent shape. And I started to get into swimming a little bit. Now I say get into swimming, I mean like I would go and swim like 100 meters in a pool. Like I could barely swim. And finally one day I was like, okay, fine, I'll sign up for this race. Like how hard can it be? I had such a cocky attitude where I thought like, you know, like if he can do it, I can do it, whatever. And when it came to running, I wasn't bad at running. I'd done a couple 10Ks. I think my best time at that time was maybe 43 minutes or something like that. So pretty decent time considering I wasn't really a runner. I weighed like 220 pounds. But yeah, I thought I can run, you know, I'm gonna get a bike. And the bike I got was the blue bike there. That's my first bike I ever got. I paid, I think it was like $200 or $300. I bought it used at a bike shop, and that was gonna do me for the triathlon. The day of the race in June, it was actually a really cold day. My wife, fiance at the time, we get there and she's just there to like watch me basically suffer. And the cocky guy comes up to me, he's kind of putting on the race. He says that they need volunteers. Oh, I should backtrack a little bit. To sign up for the race, they needed your estimated swim time because the race was going to be in a pool, the swim part. And that's because it was the first triathlon of the year. So it was still really cold here in Nova Scotia, Canada. And they just needed to know our swim times so they could put roughly everyone in the right order so nobody would be, you know, passing someone the whole time or nothing like that. So I had no idea what the proper swim time for me would be because I never swam 750 meters, which is not recommended. If you go on anything online, they'll tell you make sure you can actually do the distances before you try to do all three. But like I said, I was cocky. I didn't really care. I thought I could do anything. So I think I put like 16 or 17 minute 750. And that was probably like, you know, being like very tentative. I didn't really know what that meant. So anyways, back to the race day, the guy comes up to me and says, hey, they need volunteers for the morning. And, you know, I'm like, well, you know, there's nothing I can really do. I'm scheduled to swim in the morning because that's one of the slowest times, you know, you can swim. So I'm obviously going to be starting to swim first with like the first couple people. And he says, oh, don't worry about it. We'll get you in the afternoon. We just really need someone for the morning or they're not gonna be able to start the race because they need people out on the bike course, you know, directing people where to go. And I didn't really think anything of it, but I should have thought, well, that means you're gonna swim with fast people. But I was like, well, whatever, that'll work for me, you know, once again, thinking I can do anything. So that whole morning, we're out there, my wife and I are just on this one corner, you know, directing people to take a right turn. There's nowhere to go to the bathroom at all. We wait there for, they said that we were only going to do 2-hour shifts and then someone would come and take over for us. That didn't happen. We were out there for the entire 4 hours. And like after a while, I just went and took a piss in the bush, but she couldn't do that. So then she had to like walk all the way back to the gymnasium, which was, I don't know, like it was over 1 kilometer for sure, just to go to the bathroom. And then she came back. Finally, after 4 hours, someone came by and they swapped us out and we were done the volunteering. And that was all great. I didn't even care about that really at all until I got into the pool and I realized what a mistake I had made. What ended up happening was I got put in with the second last group of the day. I think there's 5 lanes on the pool, and 2 people per lane. So that means there's 10 people at a time. And I got put in with the second last group, or the people that are looking to come top 20 in the race. Like I said, I've never swam 750 meters in my life. So I get put in there. I'm swimming with a guy. I feel like he's going by me like twice every lap. Probably not that bad, but that's what I feel like. And while I'm swimming, I'm actually just trying not to die, really, because I'm struggling so much with breathing. I find my face is just getting on fire because I'm not getting enough air. And there are times where I actually just stop on the end of the pool just to catch my breath before I start going again. After like 200 meters, I completely lost track of where I was at. There's a person down in the end counting your laps, luckily, or I would have never known when I was done. But all I knew was that they were gonna put a kickboard in the water when I was on my last lap. So I just kept going, and every time I would get to them, I would just be hoping, where's the kickboard? Where's the kickboard? Oh, not again. And I have to go back out again and come back. Finally, it was all over. They gave me the kickboard. I knew it was just one more there and back, and I was done. I came back, I get up, and I go to jump out of the pool, and I almost smashed my head off the diving board that's right in the pool. I was positioned right beside the diving board, and I go to like pull myself out of the water, and the guy stops me, and he's just like, oh, you almost smashed your head. And I'm so delirious at this point. I guess just because I wasn't getting the proper amount of air, I didn't really know how to breathe, that I got the biggest lightheadedness attack of my life coming out of that pool. And you know, I think I said like thank you or something, and then I just like had to stagger through the pool, and then it took you directly outside, and you had to run down this little lane to go to your bike. And while I'm running, I'm just staggering like a drunk person, like all over the place, thinking like, what's going on with me? Like I can't see, I can't really feel right. And I just remember thinking like, how am I gonna bike 20 kilometers? Like I'm so messed up right now. So I get to my bike and I'm struggling. I don't have a shirt on. I'm like struggling to put on my running shirt. And I say running shirt because at the time I didn't have any fancy tri-tops. I didn't even have a cycling jersey because I was also a new cyclist. So all I had was t-shirts. So I'm putting on this t-shirt and it's already pinned. My bib's already pinned to it. So it's like struggling to go on without it ripping. And later my wife would tell me that she was actually there having a conversation with me. I don't recall any of that. I don't know what we talked about or anything. It was just a complete blur, this entire transition. I get out onto the bike and it's a pretty simple bike. There's like a air runway strip there. So basically you bike up this hill, you get onto an air runway strip, and it was like 4 kilometers or more, I don't remember, of just laps around this runway. And it was like really, really nice. It was like cement, really smooth, probably really fast for some people, not me, because just like the swim where I never swam 750 meters, well, I had only ever biked 20 kilometers one time, and that was just to see if I could do it. So I wasn't really that prepared for the bike as well. So I get on the bike, that bike there, it's like an 8-speed. It's probably fine for anyone that's done any sort of bike training before. I'm sure it would have been great, but for me and my lightheadedness and how I just been brutally attacked by the swim, it was miserable. I think it was only 3 laps of the whole thing, and then you came back in. And that equaled 20 kilometers. And I just remember thinking, I can't remember what lap I'm on the whole time. Just like, I can't remember. And it was on the bike course. And that was about the time that I realized how fast real triathletes were. Because when I got out there, I was now with, oh, I almost forgot the biggest thing ever about the swim. When I got out of the pool, I looked around, there's nobody in the pool. I'm the only one, and there's people up in the stands watching, and everyone's doing like a polite little clap, cheering for me because I had taken that long. I was the last person by many minutes in that pool because I was surrounded by pros, and I had the final group waiting for me on the pool deck, just waiting for this like idiot to finish. But I'm sure it wasn't really that bad, but to me at the time it was that bad. Back on the bike trail or the bike runway strip, I'm out there biking with all the people that I swam with. They're probably on like a lap ahead of me or something, and they're just blowing by me. I'm talking like 16-year-old kids that are like, you know, up and comer triathletes, girls, old men, everyone blowing by me. And I'm like, how are these people so fast? It's because I had no idea what fast was because I'd never biked that far. So I was just like so thrown away by how far it was. I remember thinking when I was near the end of the bike, I just remember trying to smash down the pedals as hard as I could. And I remember now thinking I was in like one of the easiest gears on the bike, but I had nothing left in my legs. Like I was trying so hard. It was at this point that a lot of people that started behind me in the swim, like the true top 10 triathletes of like the fastest swimmers, they started passing me on the bike too. And they were even faster. And I just remember thinking like, I am so sick of getting passed. Like I didn't pass one person this entire race because I started so far back. I was only going with the best. So the whole race I'd been getting passed and passed and passed. But I had one thing going for me, is that running is my strength. Well, maybe not strength compared to like their strength, but for me, running was the only thing that I knew I could do. I could do a 42, 43 minute 10K at the time. Even though I was completely guttered, like done, I get in finally and I'm like, I'm gonna have a good run. It was only 5 kilometers and I'm like, I'm gonna run so fast. And obviously I get off the bike and I can barely move my legs. Of course, I had never done a brick before, so I didn't know that your legs feel like jello when you get off the bike. And I remember running going like, what's wrong with my legs? Like, is there something actually wrong with them? Or am I just like this messed up now from triathlons? I get on the trail and it's just an out and back, 2.5 kilometers out, turn around on this dirt trail. I get out there, I do the turnaround, and there's a group of guys. They're probably the guys that came like top 4 in the race. Like the race for like first place is coming up beside me. And I just remember thinking like, that's it, I'm done getting past. And for the last 2.5 kilometers, I stuck with them. And I ran like a 20-minute 5K or something like that. I can't really remember, but it was it was down in the low 20s. And it was like top 5 run of the day. And I stuck with them. And that was the only thing. I don't know where it came from because I was so completely tired, but when the run came, it's just like some competitive thing triggered in me, and I was like, I'm sticking with them, I don't even care. And in that moment, I actually felt like I was top 5. I knew I wasn't really top 5 because they had started probably 10 minutes or 15 minutes, 20 minutes behind me. I don't know how long that would take for them to start behind me, but in that moment, I felt like I was actually with them. And when I finished, I was completely smashed, so sore, so tired, could barely talk. I just remember like laying on my back, looking at Kelsey, my wife, being like, this was ridiculous. Thinking it felt like it was almost like a war zone. Like I had been through so much, like so many different sports that I didn't know what I was doing. But then in the end, when I was driving home, I just remember thinking, I want to do this more. I want it more. And that was the start of me getting into triathlon, thinking this is like the greatest sport ever because it combines so many things and it takes so much effort to like get decent at each one of these sports. And I just thought it was like the greatest thing ever. I know it might seem like it was a really crappy race, but it's a memorable race and it's one that really drew me into this sport. So if you're ever thinking of doing a triathlon, do a triathlon. If you have a triathlon story, comment it down below. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure you're always going after those goals.